Welcome to the Hidden Why podcast. This is episode 1111, my second interview with Michael Arteberry, and we're discussing his new book, The Ripple Effect. Enjoy. Hello, Michael. Welcome back to the Hidden Why podcast. Great to have you here today.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is round two.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We were talking. The first round wasn't during the great time of our lives, so.
No, I just looked it up, 903, episode 903. This is about, I don't know, we're into the thousands now. So not too long ago, mate, but yes, it was during COVID times, and you shared an encouraging story back then for our guests, and you've just launched a new book, so we're going to jump into that today. But before we do, let's just recap on your journey, because I think it's a really inspirational story, and I love sharing those stories. I think it's really uplifting and motivational to those that are listening. So tell us a bit about your background, where you come from, and how you end up here.
All right. So on the first time you met me, I shared a story that launches my story perfectly. So yeah. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to bring you back down that path, and it's about a farmer and a donkey. All right. And this donkey is one of his favorite farm animals, because once he finishes working with the donkey, he brings the donkey home and allows the donkey to play with his kids. So you imagine he brings the donkey home, the kids come out the house, they wash him, they ride him, so the donkey is more like a pet / work animal. But one night he brought the donkey home, he released him into the farm. And then the next morning when he came out and he called the donkey didn't show up. So he whistles for him, the donkey, doesn't show up. So he starts walking around the farm to find him. And he finds him at the bottom of an empty water well. During the night, the donkey was wandering, and as he wandered, he fell into the water well, but obviously he couldn't get out. So the farmer comes over and it's like, wow, I want to get my donkey out. So the farmer gets 6 of his friends, he brings them over to the well, and he's like, how are we going to get him out? One of his friends suggested that they pull him out with some rope. So all 6 of them went and got some rope, and they started to lasso the donkey. They throw the rope, they miss, they throw the rope, they miss, they finally throw it by his hind legs. The donkey steps into the rope, they shimmy up his body, and they start to pull. They pull, the donkey moves. They pull, the donkey moves. Then halfway up the well, they realize that the donkey's too heavy. So when they realize the donkey's too heavy, they lower him back to the bottom of the well. And now that farmer has to make a grim decision. Now he can't feed the donkey food at the bottom of the well because that wouldn't make any sense. He can't starve him because, like I said, it's more like his pet / work animal. One of his hot-headed friends said, hey, just shoot him. He's like, no, I can't do that. But one of his more reasonable friends said to him, listen, you don't want your kids to fall into that well, so we're going to cover him with dirt so we can make sure that your kids are safe, but you're going to have to sacrifice your donkey. So all 6 of them got shovels and they started shoveling dirt into the well. Every time that dirt would hit the donkey, he would scream. Every time he would scream, it would cause the farmer some distress. Dirt, scream, then all of a sudden the scream stopped. They gave the donkey a moment of silence, but they went back to work. More dirt. Next thing you know, you see the donkey's right ear. They're like, whoa. They start shoveling double time. You see half his body. They start shoveling even faster. And the next thing you know, that donkey walked right out of the well that he fell into. Now, the moral of the story is this. Every time that dirt came across the wall, it would fall on the donkey's back. He would shake it off and he would step on it. And that donkey used every scoop of dirt that was meant to kill him to save his life. I say that to you because I am the donkey. And what I've been able to do is I've been able to take an alcoholic father, a life living in poverty, living with a dysfunctional family, and I use all those things rather than being a catalyst to make me unsuccessful. I use it as a tool to make me successful.
Yeah, that's a lovely story. Then it's really about resilience, isn't it? Like when you get knocked down, you get back up, you stand on top of it, and you keep on going.
Yes. And that's sometimes the battle. And when people don't understand that, they allow the adversity to become so big that it overwhelms them and prevents them from moving forward. So when you try to break it into pieces, it allows you to be able to absorb it and work through it in a more efficient way.
What was it that gave you drive to keep on going?
You know, what gave me the drive is the fact that I was fortunate enough by living in the ghetto, but I went to school outside of my neighborhood. And so I was able to see how other people lived separate from the people that lived where I was growing up. And being exposed to an environment that was different than my own, I always wanted that for myself. So when I do talks with teenagers in schools, I show them this picture of this house that I lived in with boards on the window. It looks condemned. And then I show them the raised ranch that I live in now. And I show them the contrast that at one point, this was my reality, but being exposed to the other gave me the drive to know that it was possible.
Okay. So it helps, that exposure that's external to your reality now, having exposure to a different reality, like a vision of a brighter future, gave you the courage, motivation to move forward towards that.
Yeah, and it set the mark. So what's nice is anytime I got closer, if it didn't look like I wanted it to look like, I knew I wasn't there yet. Now, am I still at the end? I hope not. I hope I can buy or get into something bigger than where I'm at now. But no, it allowed to pull me, you know what I'm saying, through the process because, I would set limits. I grew up with roaches and bugs in my house and mice. And so I had different requirements for when I got my own place, and so I continued to set the standard until I got to a place where I felt that I was not and nowhere near where I came from. Yeah.
I was thinking about this recently and about having that vision of where you want to go and using external tools to help you create that vision. And then we just talked about resilience. And I think sometimes resilience, we're going to get knocked down. We're going to get dirt thrown at us. We're going to have struggles, challenges, pain. But having that vision, that constant focus on that vision builds that resilience. And I was thinking, even in my life, and I haven't been through the worst upbringing at all, but I have battled with that sort of resilience and going through it and stepping back up again, it creates more confidence and more resilience. And then I create more tools. So next time I get knocked down, I've got a tool to deal with that. And you could probably relate, yeah?
Yes, definitely tools. And then at the same time, I feel as if we don't go through things for ourselves. So when I'm able, being a motivational speaker and author and having my own nonprofit to work with the youth, I feel that anything that I go through in life is not only for me. So I chronicle it on paper, or I will even do it mentally in my mind so that when I find someone that can benefit from what I've been able to accomplish, I make sure that I share it with them.
Right. It's like creating a standard operating procedure for life, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. Yes, it is.
It's kind of like this podcast. It's a personal journey for me. But, as I learn, I share back, and that gives to the audience that might need that tool at their time in life as well.
Right. Which, I hate to do it, but we talked about my book. To segue into it, what you just said is what my book is about. It's called The Ripple Effect. And so you come on the podcast. This is I got chills. It's a great illustration of it. You come on the podcast, you speak out to your audience, and your voice is like that rock in that pond, because what it does is it causes ripples effects. And then when people receive what you say to them on your podcast, they take the information and they go somewhere else and they give it to them. They take the information and they give it to that person. And from you, one podcast, are able to touch multiple people because of the fact that you're doing something to achieve your purpose, but at the same time, it affects more than just you.
Yeah, 100%. It's So let's get into this book, The Ripple Effect, Stories of Transformation from Personal Pain. Is it a personal story that you're writing here about purpose?
No, it's actually a compilation of people who I've come across in my journey.
Yeah.
And how they write in the interaction that we had. But what's beautiful about it is they talk about how they took our interaction and then they spun it and moved it forward to doing something on their own. So not to give away the book, but one example is I do a program in a school, and I had a student who came from a family that was dysfunctional. She wasn't taken care of as a mom from her mother, you know, that crazy life. But she speaks on how we had our interaction. But from that, what she learned is she now has a daughter and she's a beautiful mom. So she was able to take what she came through. She took the advice and the conversations we had, and the ripple effect she pushes forward is being a good mom to a daughter. Now, if you want to take that one step further, think about it. It went from me to her to her daughter, and then a daughter passes it down the line, and then anyone else that is in proximity to see it happen. It's powerful.
Yeah, I love it. And you don't really think about it too often, do you? But I think, there's so many people out there showing up every day, but they're not thinking about how they can have an impact, how they can give back, how they can be of service. We're so engaged in ourselves because that's a society these days, I feel. But yet everyone has something beautiful to give, a good message that can create that ripple effect, whether it's small or large. And I think if we could go out there every day and just have a positive impact in someone else's life, because you think about the person listening to this podcast that has, a good feeling from it, they might go talk to a friend, and they might use that then to encourage a friend and uplift a friend that then, carries on and on. So it goes beyond just this conversation and someone listening to it.
Yes, and you never know who's watching. Now, I've learned this with my kids. And now my kids, my daughter's 20, my son's 17, and my daughter hit me with one that brought tears to my eyes. I told her when she was a little girl that she'll never have to worry about having a Valentine because daddy will always be her Valentine. So every Valentine's Day, I buy her a gift. She's off at college. Her mom was sending her a package. And when her mom told her the package was coming, the first thing she asked is, what did daddy put in it? Now, I didn't put anything in it because, I had forgotten what I had told her when she was a little girl. But my wife told me soon enough that I sent off flowers. But I had forgotten that I told her that. So when you talk about an audience, I said this to her, she remembered it. And so, I got the flowers there on time, so I stayed in good standing. But when I say you never know who's listening or watching, that's a prime example. And something else that I'm very big on is that we have to have conversations, living a life of consciousness. So we have to have conversations that have purpose. You know what I mean? So rather than, like you're saying, just talking to people, talk to a person with a conscious effort of making it a dialogue that will stay with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're a motivational speaker, so you get quite good at being able to engage the audience and share a message that's impactful to them, not just talking about yourself. But I think a lot of, like you just said, a lot of conversations just happen day to day. People are all up here thinking about what's going on in their life and all the, the stresses, anxieties, whatever's happening in their life. They're not actually engaging in that conversation. So how do you put yourself in a position where you're fully there, present and engaging with the audience, whether that's one-on-one or one-to-many?
What you do is you have to become a good listener. What I mean by that is start to train yourself to listen to a person finish a thought. What we have a tendency to do is if you and I are talking, you make a statement and immediately I start to think about the response and I stop listening to you saying exactly what you want to say. So you have to gain some patience to allow the person that you're talking to finish what they have to say before you start your brain into the reaction of what's being said. So listening with a different purpose gives you the ability to have conversations that I feel have a lot more connection and weight to it.
Yeah, and I think that listening ability is well, it stems from a few sources, but self-awareness, right? And if you can have a better self-awareness, you will be more present in those moments. And then when someone's talking, I think I have a tendency, I know, because patience isn't my virtue, but I'm getting better. But listening to someone talk and then giving it some time to process and just pause before you respond, because we're all reactive. But that level of self-awareness allows us to pause in moments in life, and that's including in the conversation where you're listening.
Yeah, yes. You know, I have another book that I wrote called Be Encouraged, but in it I wrote short-term thinkers plant gardens, long-term thinkers plant trees, eternity-minded thinkers plant themselves in the souls of others. And that's something that I put in my back pocket. So when I meet someone, I want to, on purpose, when we leave each other, I want you to be like, wow, like who was that? Now, I don't do it on purpose and I'm not phony, but my purpose of being there is to really jar this person's brain to say, like, this was something that was unreal for me. And so anything, the garbage man, the repairman, the gas station attendant, I make sure every one of those interactions have some type of a stamp on it to say, you know, this is who I am, this is what I represent, and this is what I bring to the table.
Yeah, I like that. It's a really important point, and I think a lot of us, including myself, struggle with it. We aren't good at those conversations with people we don't know potentially. You know, the ability to network. And I know the frustration that comes to me often is networking means small talk, and I don't like that. What are your tools to help? Well, how have you transformed yourself to be able to engage with people so you can leave, no matter what conversation it is, people feeling like, geez, that was actually good. Walk away like there was some purpose there.
Check this out, energy. Oof. You know, I'm not into the crazy, you know, but I believe in good energy. And so sometimes it's not even verbal. You know, it's not even verbal. It is just your presence. So it's being conscious of the energy that you bring into a room. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, a person can come into a room, you know, and be a light. So they walk into the room and the room is dark, and just by their presence, the room lights up because they come in. But then there's the reverse person that comes in, and when they enter the room, if we're all candles, all of our lights blow out. So you have to be conscious of the energy that you bring into a space, because sometimes you may not even say anything, you know what I'm saying? But it can turn out to be something that's beneficial. You know, check this out. There was a guy that jumped off the San Francisco Bridge and he survived. Now think about that. He jumped off one piece. They're interviewing him. He's on a talk show. They're interviewing him, and they make him walk back through the process of the day he was about to do it. And so I thought it was a little morbid, but they're interviewing him. He's in a cab, he's on a bus, they're walking on the street, and then he stops them. And he says, listen, I just want to tell you guys that if one person would have said to me, hey, buddy, are you okay? I would have called it off. And so the fact that he passed all those people and no one was conscious enough to realize that this man was not in the right place, he tried to kill himself. And so what I'm saying about energy and the consciousness and being aware is that don't just get up and put your shoes on and leave the house. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that you leave a house with a purpose and a mindset of, I'm not out to save somebody's life, but I'm going to bring some good energy into this world and make it your purpose.
Well, you never know when that moment might come, huh? And if you have that level of awareness and energy when you walk out that door every day, when you put your 2 feet out of bed, that's the conscious moment where you can choose how you're going to live that day.
That's for sure.
What do you do to keep that energy there? Because I'm an introvert by nature. And people, I find, really take my energy, and it's not in a bad way, but I try to be present and I try to have that energy. And so for me, I have to have my downtime, right, to recharge. Right. What are your techniques for bringing energy to the table and then also to restore?
I'm spiritual. I'm spiritual. For the heavy duties, I'm Christian. For the non-religious, I'm just a cool dude. But I'm very, very spiritual. And what I do is I take care of myself first.
Yeah.
And so every single morning for at least 2 hours, spiritually, in whatever realm I take it, I make sure that I'm in a proper place before I engage with anybody in the world. And I mean, when I say dedicated to it, every day. And so when you take care of yourself—
2 hours, you say, 2 hours every day before you start.
Yeah, before I start. I have a routine, so I'll start, like I have, it's a whole nother podcast, but I had a back injury where I had surgery where I can do cardio endlessly. I have damaged nerves in my legs, so I do 5 hours cardio per day because I ride in a scooter. So I do the 5 hours cardio because it will equal, I can do cardio, but I can't walk well. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm telling you this because within an hour of 5 hours doing cardio, I have to find something to fill it with. So for that first 2 hours of my cardio, I listen to my mentors. I listen to a specific type of music. I meditate, and I do all of that every morning before I start my day.
Powerful practice, huh?
Oh my gosh. It's powerful. Bring tears to my eyes because you know what happens is and it's why those that go through problems are so busy, is because if you can constantly make noise, you don't think about what's going on in your head. That's why people do that. You'll see people rushing from place to place, music all the time, because they don't want the noise of what's going on in their minds to overwhelm them. For me, what I want is that quietness because it brings me clarity. When I'm on a roll and I'm going in and out of high schools and my program, our service, I'm with kids for 2 full days. So I met a group of 20 kids on the first day. That next morning when I'm going back in and I give myself the quiet time, I see Billy, I see Sue, I see Karen. I remember what they said to me. I start to play out what I think can go on with their lives. And then I come back and I feed that to them. So that 2 hours is my quiet time to balance off, reconnect, and almost just like you do as an introvert when you feel like you have to re-energize and go out.
Yeah, it's an incredible journey. And I just love that you shared that because I think it's such a powerful tool that I'm still learning. And I just wanted to share this with people because it may not happen tomorrow. You may not be perfectly there tomorrow, but I've been doing it for about 10 years plus now. Where I started, I'm just like, meditation, what the hell is this? Getting up inconsistently, once, maybe twice a week, and then I stop. And then maybe a week later, I'm doing the whole week, and then I stop. Journaling, meditation, exercise, visualizations, doing affirmations every single morning, and I'm getting better and better. And not like you, where you're doing 2 hours every day without fail. I still have days where I don't do it. And I notice those days I'm not as clear, I'm not as focused, I don't have the energy. So, if you're listening out there, don't give up. Because the amount of people I have on this podcast that have some sort of morning routine, that they dedicate that time to them, so they can then go out in the world and be there better for others is powerful.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It definitely is.
Tell us your book, The Ripple Effect. Are you walking in your purpose? When we talk about purpose, what are we talking about?
You know, I feel as if people get bullied into a profession because they're afraid of what others may say. So you wake up with this dream to be something. You want to pursue it, but you feel as if you pursue it, then people will say you're not going to make enough money. It's not really a profession you need to be in. And you end up going in the direction of what others want for you and not what you want for yourself. I say living in your purpose is looking at the gifts and the talents that you give to the world and then using that as a part of whatever you do on a daily basis. And so, you know, sometimes I joke and I say, like with my job, with motivational speaking and helping others, you know, my money goes in a direct deposit. I don't even know when I get paid, like my wife knows, but I would do what I do for free. You know what I'm saying? So I never get up in the morning and say, I'm going to go because I want that car or I want that next item. I just get up and I just go. And so I want people to live in their purpose in a place where getting up in the morning is not an effort to go to a place, but I get up, there's never a morning, and I've had my nonprofit since 2006. And I mean, I'm telling you, I'm no joke. I never get up in the morning and say, I have to go to work. Never. And living in your purpose gives you that feeling. Now, something we talked about before we got on the podcast is that I feel like living in your purpose is not only beneficial to you, but it's beneficial to others. Again, back to my book, I feel that fear is paralyzing. So what happens is many people get paralyzed by the fear, don't pursue their purpose, but then the next person was waiting for you to pursue it and they don't get what they get simply because you don't pursue your purpose. So, you know, you don't want to make people feel bad, but yeah, take to account that you're not only starving yourself from having a better life, but there's the ripple effect of others down your path that won't get what they need because you don't pursue it. So it adds a little weight to the fact that you are not able to pursue it.
Living with purpose. I think there's a lot of people that would say that they don't have much purpose in life right now. I think there'd probably be a lot of people listening out there going, that's nice for Michael, nice for Lee, whatever it might be. You know, I've got a job I don't really like and I've got to pay the bills. You know, there's not many opportunities there for me. What would you say to those people that are listening?
What I would say is to retrace their steps. And when you hear purpose sounds like such a big, nasty word, you know? And what I mean by that is it doesn't have to be large. You know, you can have a job, but find something that feeds your purpose, you know? My wife for a while had this passion that she wanted to feed homeless people. Now, we live outside of Manhattan, and you know there's plenty of homeless people in Manhattan, in New York City. And so in the midst of doing her job, she was able to fulfill her purpose by feeding or helping feed the homeless. So by retracing your steps, what you do is you self-reflect and try to remember that thing that made you excited.
Yeah.
What was that thing that made you excited? And when you find it, you then try to insert it somewhere in your life so that you can start to feel that, but don't feel like it has to be this, I go out and I get this new job. Living in your purpose can start as small as volunteering time down at the nursing home or, you know, being at a supermarket and pushing a cart in for a person that is unable to.
Contribution, giving back in some capacity. I think that purpose, and like you said, if there's just one thing that you could do in your day or in your week to inject some joy that brings you joy, that will then give other people joy. That ripple effect, like you said, if you're in a job where you're not really that satisfied and you're doing these other things that are giving you a level of purpose, you will find that will transfer across into your daily job where you're not feeling that love as much. And I remember an example of this when I was in a job that I didn't like, and I was a leader in this job. And I used to listen to this podcast. It was a motivational sort of podcast. And I only got into that podcast because my brother was a bit suicidal and he started listening to it. And I thought, I'll listen to this because, I want to understand where he's at. And then I got into this podcast and I was getting that motivation, and I was in a very dissatisfied spot in my life. But I was getting that motivation. I'd go to my team meetings, my team huddles in the morning, and I'd share some of that inspiration. And that just made that day a bit better, even though I didn't like that job, So it does flow through. And if you can bring more purpose in your day where you're waking up, you're feeling the love, you're going, yes, I'm going to do this, even if it's small, it's a 5-minute thing, that will have a ripple effect for the rest of your day.
Yeah. It balances it off. You know what I'm saying? It balances it off, and, I feel as if nothing in the world that you go through, if you look at it from the right perspective, is bad. You can find, a fresh perspective on anything that you're going through. So balancing it off and being able to take one from the other, is beneficial for your sanity, and for those around you. So the people at your job where you were the leader, you didn't want to rip their heads off. You were feeding them good stuff.
Yeah. I love it. I think if you show up, every day with that little bit of purpose, it's like the morning practice, the morning practice will grow. It may not be a year. It may take 10 years, it may take 20 years. Same with showing up every day with a bit of purpose.
Yes.
Hey, look what you've done.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, listen, let me tell you, I bring myself to tears sometimes because I sit in my living room and I retrace the steps. I had an alcoholic father who was a raging alcoholic. He was physically abusive to my mom, verbally abusive to my mom. He never beat us as his children. I realized at a young age that if I sat on my mom's lap when he would physically go at her, he wouldn't do it. So at the age of 3 or 4, I'm climbing out of my bed to climb on my mom's lap to make sure he wouldn't beat her. Imagine these are the things like I went through all my life, but what I was able to do, and I preach this to people, is to make your pain profitable. And so what I have the intention of anything that I go through, if I don't make it pay me back, then it just came in my life for no reason at all. And so, I took it all. And what's crazy is I have 3 siblings who never went to any type of counseling, lived through the same thing as I have. My therapy is talking about it every day. And the fact that they've never talked about it, I love them dearly, but they are a mess. My siblings, they're dysfunctional adults because they've never dealt with the trauma that they went through.
It's a powerful, inspirational story, Michael. I really love you sharing. And so good, so much energy in this conversation. So good to have you back.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. Thank you.
Guys, The Ripple Effect on Amazon. I'll stick a link in the show notes so you can download a copy from the show notes at thehiddenwhy.com. Michael, any final words of wisdom, advice, motivation?
What I want people to understand is this: it's not about the destination, Lee. It's about the journey. And so I think we get so caught up on where we're going, we don't get to enjoy where we're at, So when the teacher calls roll call for the day, you're not present. And if you're not present in the moment, then your life is not being lived to the fullest. So whenever I catch myself running too fast ahead, I stop. And I just stop and say, if I'm outside, I breathe and I take in the nature. If I'm exercising, if I'm doing an exercise, I stop and I focus on what I'm doing. So stop striving, because you strive and you strive and you strive, you get to where you want to be and you look back and you forget what happened all the way to the place. So if you enjoy each of the steps, it makes getting to your final goal that more pleasurable, because you feel the entire journey on the way.
Yeah, I love that advice. I think it's powerful. And I think the important thing is, if you don't get to where you're planning to go, if you're enjoying it on the way, it doesn't matter.
There you go.
That's
it. Yes, it is.
Michael, thank you so much, guys. Check it out at Hidden Why Podcast. Reach out to Michael if you want to connect further, live more fully, have more meaning, and find more joy. Talk then. Thanks, guys, for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. I hope you love what you're hearing. If you like this episode, guys, or any of the episodes that you're listening to here at The Hidden Why, please do me a favor by sharing it. You can share it with your families. You can share it with your loved ones. You can do that by using your favorite social media channels, using the icons on the platform that you're listening to The Hidden Why podcast. Also, guys, if you're a fan of the show, please connect with me. Connect with me at thehiddenwhy.com. I love to hear from you. I love to converse with the people that listen to this show to find out what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, and perhaps if they have any questions or feedback for the show as well. You can stay up to date with all that I'm releasing here, guys. I do a solo show every Monday, a 3-minute thought every Thursday. I do 2 interviews a week on a Wednesday and a Saturday, and a book review every Friday. You can stay up to date with all that by subscribing to my newsletter at thehiddenwhy.com. Just enter your email address there, and also subscribing to the podcast on the platform that you choose to listen to your podcasts. You can also support the show, guys, by using the Amazon links at thehiddenwhy.com. So if you like books, you can get all the books that I review there, and anything else really that you like to purchase through Amazon. So use that link, it helps support the show. And we've also got a deal with Audible, guys. Audible is a fantastic way to listen to all your favorite books. We've got a deal with them, so you can get 2 free books when you subscribe, or subscribe to a 30-day free trial. So check that out again at thehiddenwhy.com. Guys, that's it from me. You know what to do. Go out there, breathe more passion into every single moment. Do everything with greater purpose, and in doing so, you will discover your hidden why. This is The Hidden Why. My name is Lee Martinuzzi. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon.